Hi, I'm Freya Locke, dog parent of Twyla the Springador, owner of my on-the-ground business Locke's Dogs, behaviourist and trainer, and the creator of the online Fun Not Fear school, club and podcast. We know there's nothing in life that can be taught with fear that can't be taught with fun apart from fear itself, and so it's our mission to teach you how to have a great life with your dog with none of the aversive equipment and icky methods of the past. Why listen to me? Well, when it comes to dogs who have behaviour struggles, I've been there and got the t-shirt. Guiding my own dog through his many struggles, I realised behaviour is my passion in life. I got qualified and have now helped hundreds of dogs with anxiety-based struggles, both in person and over the internet. I also know that dog parents want clear, easy and jargon-free advice they can follow that actually works. We'll make it easy for you and your dog to have the fun, not fear life you need together and overcome any anxiety your dog might struggle with, without doing anything complicated or difficult, without doing anything scary, and by simply having fun with your dog, playing games and doing the things you both enjoy. Every week in the Fun Not Fear school, we have a live on a Wednesday, and this gives my one-to-one clients and all of the members a chance to ask questions and find out the things they need to know in between sessions, and also to be able to watch the replays. So with the news that the XL Bully is about to be banned, we made a special XL Bully version of our weekly live, and we have added it here. So it is going to be available for you to listen on this podcast in just a second. Just know that it is entirely unedited, so I will be stammering and stuttering a little bit through it, but I'm sure you won't mind. Okay, so let's go. So tonight we're talking about XL bullies and the upcoming ban. I do know that this is going to be a bit of an emotional topic for a lot of people. Some people obviously want the ban, some people obviously don't want the ban. There's good reasons on either side of the argument. Personally, I am against the ban, but that is not what we're here to talk about tonight, okay? So with that in mind, I've set it up so that I have a moderator with me. We can take questions, we can take chat. I expect everybody to be respectful to each other, and if they're not, then my moderator will be hiding comments and doing things like that. So just so you know, we are moderating, we are keeping an eye. We want this to be a safe space for everybody concerned, okay? So I'm just going to double check that everything's set up as it should be, and then I will get going, okay? You're good? Yeah. Brilliant, that's wonderful. Right, thank you, Ellie. So just a bit of housekeeping. I do have a stutter, so sometimes I might need to stop and take a breath for a minute. Don't worry if that happens. It's not your computer that's broke. Don't worry, your Wi-Fi is still working. It is me, okay? Also, I might stop and have a sip of coffee because, you know, coffee. But yeah, so my moderator will be working with me tonight just to make sure this stays a safe space, and I'm going to try and give you as much information as I possibly can about what is going on with the bullies. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is a bit later on, when this chat is finished, everything that I talk about, I'm going to link to in a comment, and I'm going to drop it underneath the chat on the main page, okay? So there's going to be loads and loads of links there for you to go and get help with things that you need to do with your dogs, things that you can do with any dog, really. But it's going to be, you know, really, really useful. So do save this post, because if you check back to it a bit later, there's going to be a whole pile of links on it that's going to be really useful to you. Okay, the other thing I was going to say is, although this is being streamed to the club group, it's going to the inner circle group, it's going to my profile, at the same time, what we're going to do is we're moderating all the chat into the page, okay? So you should be on the Locke's Dogs main page if you want us to pick up any comments or if you want us to answer any questions. Okay, Elle?
Kelly says she can't hear you.
Okay, 2 seconds. Right, Kelly, can you hear me? You can hear me, great. Okay, that's wonderful. We can, as I say, we're just setting up the tech for all this. So any questions need to go to the Facebook page. We are streaming into the club group and to the Inner Circle group and onto my profile, but we're not checking there. Anything that anybody wants to ask, just click on this video and it will take you to the page. You can ask from there. Do check back a bit later because we will have a load of links and things for you. Okay, so that's the housekeeping done. The other last thing as well is this is not a training session. So because I have to be very, very careful with my insurance, I have to watch what is given out in the form of advice, and I just want to make this very, very clear. This is not a training session. This is just information that I've picked up over the past couple of days for people who have a bully and are worried. Okay, so let's get going. First of all, it would be useful for me to tell you what the Dangerous Dogs Act is. Okay, now the XL bullies are currently, what's the word I'm looking for? Rishi Sunak is decided that he wants to ban the XL bullies under the Dangerous Dogs Act of 1991. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you exactly what the Dangerous Dog Act is. So the act was set up in 1991 in response to a spate of dog attacks and fatalities, and it created something called breed-specific legislation, and that's been a controversial topic ever since. Okay, so when I looked up breed-specific legislation on the internet, just to give you a definition, it comes up with breed-specific legislation refers to laws that classify certain dog breeds as dangerous based on their appearance rather than their individual actions. In the UK, BSL has been in effect for 32 years. It's a controversial topic with concerns raised about its effectiveness and its impact on public safety. The RSPCA, along with other organisations such as Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, Dogs Trust, Blue Cross, the British Veterinary Association, Hope Rescue, the Scottish SPA, the Kennel Club, and they're all campaigning to end BSL. They argue that focusing on the type of dog rather than their individual actions is a flawed approach. They also highlight that BSL has not achieved its intended goals of protecting public safety and reducing dog-related incidents. So for more information about the campaign to end BSL, if you want to get involved, you can visit the RSPCA's website. So there is an organisation set up called Save Our Seized Dogs, which I'm just going to read to you from their website, which explains BSL quite well. So, what is BSL? BSL refers to breed-specific legislation. This means your dog can be taken from you simply because of the way they look. In the UK, it's currently against the law to own certain types of dog. These are a Pit Bull Terrier type, a Japanese Tosa, a Dogo Argentino, and a Fila Brasileiro. It's also against the law to sell a banned dog, abandon a bad dog, give away a banned dog, or breed from a banned dog. Whether your dog is a banned type depends on what it looks like and its measurements, rather than its breed or name. Now, this is very, very important, especially in the cases of XL bullies and Pit Bull Terriers, because there is not a DNA test that you can do to show your dog is a bully or a pit bull or any of the other things. It is entirely based on what your dog looks like. Okay, so recently there was a bunch of XLs bred near here that were, they were being sold as XLs, and they turned out to be Labrador crossed with boxers. Okay, but because of what they looked like, they were classed as XLs. So a Pit Bull Terrier, there is one breed called the American Pit Bull Terrier, but that is one type of dog. But a Pit Bull Terrier type has certain characteristics, and it can be a mix of all different kinds of terriers. It can be a mix of all different kinds of dogs. If it looks like a pit bull, though, it's a pit bull. And it's the same with the XLs. They can be all different kinds of bullies all mixed together and probably have other things thrown in too. But if they look like an XL, then it's possibly an XL. Okay, so if you have a banned dog under the current legislation, if you have a banned dog, local or council dog warden or the police can take it away and keep it, even if it's not acting dangerously and there hasn't been a complaint. Now, under the Dangerous Dogs Act, you only have to have a dog that makes others feel unsafe for it to be considered a dangerous dog. And that doesn't actually matter whether it's a banned breed or not. That is across the board. Obviously, if it's a banned breed, then you need to be even more careful. So if your dog's in a public place, the police do not need a warrant to seize your dog. If you're in a private place, like your home or, a private field, for example, they must have a warrant. And they also need to have a warrant for something else, like a drug search, before they can seize your dog. Okay, so a police or council dog expert will judge what type of dog you have and whether it is or could be a danger to the public. Your dog will then either be released or kept in kennels while the police or council apply to the court. Now, bearing in mind, XLs haven't been banned yet, okay? This is what applies to currently banned breeds. So you're not allowed to visit your dog while you wait for the court decision. You can give up ownership of your dog, but you can't be forced to. If you do, the dog could be destroyed without you going to court. Again, this is if XLs are banned. They're not currently. This is to do with dogs that are currently banned. So when a banned dog is seized, a police expert will then judge what type of dog you have, whether it is or could be a danger to the public. Depending on their decision, your dog will be released or kept in kennels before the case goes to court. If it goes to court, you can't visit your dog. If it does go to court, it's your responsibility to prove your dog is either not a banned type or is not a danger to the public. If you're successful, the dog will be released to you. You can choose to give up ownership, which could mean it could be destroyed before even going to court. If the courts do not consider a banned type to be a danger to the public, you may be allowed to keep it. You'll be given a certificate of exemption and your dog must be neutered, microchipped, kept on a lead and muzzled at all times. Again, the XL has not been banned yet, okay? So this is in theory, and it's about the other dogs that are already banned, not the XLs yet, okay? Your dog must be kept in a secure place where it can't escape, which it should be anyway. As the owner of a banned type, you must take out insurance against your dog injuring other people, show the exemption certificate when asked by a police officer or a council dog warden, either at the time or within 5 days. And you must let the index of exempted dogs know if you change address or if your dog dies. Okay, so that is a bit of a roundup about the rules around if you own a dog that is banned. Okay, now I keep saying the XL is not yet banned. They're currently perfectly legal dogs. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm just looking on my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. So the RSPCA, to quote them, they say the current laws don't work. BSL fails to protect public safety and hasn't achieved what it's set out to do. Hospital admissions due to dog bites continue to rise year on year, and tragic fatalities as a result of dog incidents have continued. Bearing in mind this was from 2019. In the past 20 years, 1999 to 2019, the number of hospital admissions for the treatment of dog bites increased by 154%, despite prohibition of certain dog types. Recent serious and fatal dog bites have caused a media frenzy over dangerous dogs. The law needs to be urgently reviewed and reformed, but adding more dogs to Section 1 of the Dangerous Dogs Act will only see history repeat itself, which is where I'm at, really. So if BSL worked, no dogs would be causing fatalities. The sad truth is if they ban the XL bully, then it'll only be a little while before a new breed of dog becomes the next target. And much like Rottweilers, Doberman, German Shepherds, they've all been propagandized. I don't know what the word is, propagandized, and feared and been made, made into this demon dog at some point. And people have worked to change the perception of them. But there has been talk over the years about those being dangerous dogs as well. And to be honest, they're not, all dogs can bite. There is a case in 2005 of a Chihuahua killing someone. Okay, now it's not usual, but dogs have always bitten and dogs have always maimed and killed people. And yes, there has been a lot of them lately, but then that's because a lot of them have been publicised. Okay, so I'm going to add a pile of links to the chat box about breed-specific legislation, what it means for owners of current dogs. I'm also going to add in some about training and muzzle training and stuff like that. I must add that what I'm speaking to at the moment is not training advice. Everything is under speculation. The dogs are still legal. Okay. Now, on that note, there is this really clever man called Trevor Cooper, and Trevor Cooper specialises in dog law. And he obviously has a vested interest in what is going on with the bullies at the moment. And he's given me permission to read this to you guys. Okay. So, Trevor Cooper says, XL bully ban, what we currently know. On the 10th of September 2003, the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, posted on her Twitter page, "The American XL bully is a clear and lethal danger to our communities, particularly children. We can't go on like this. I've commissioned urgent advice on banning them." This was followed, on the 15th of September 2003 by the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who said he would ban the breed under the Dangerous Dogs Act 1991 by the end of the year. DEFRA subsequently issued a statement that evening saying the Environment Secretary will, 1, convene experts to define the American XL bully in the next week. And that's actually very important as a side note, because they don't actually have a definition of what an XL bully is at the moment. So they have to first define what an XL bully is before they can ban it. Second, 2, the government will then lay a statutory instrument to add it to the list of dogs banned under the Act. This will make it an offence to own, breed, gift, or sell an XL bully by the end of the year. DEFRA went on to say there will be a transition period requiring owners to come forward and that details of this will be provided in due course. The UK's Chief Veterinary Officer, Christine Middlesmith, is quoted on the BBC as saying on the 16th of September 2023 that the transition, which she called an amnesty, will require owners to register their dogs and take action, including requiring the dog to be neutered on a lead and muzzled in public, as well as a well requirement for the dog to be insured. It's hard to be too precise about the next steps, but the following is Trevor Cooper's best guess pending further government announcements. Excuse me, I'll take a sip drink. So, question. Do owners of XL bullies have to do anything right now? Answer, no. But it would be advisable to get your dog used to wearing a muzzle, as well as to get it trained, neutered, and insured. Side note, when your dog's neutered, please ask the vet to make a record of your dog's microchip number. For insurance, it's likely to be third-party liability insurance required and not healthcare. Question, how do I know if my dog is going to be on the banned list? Answer, we have to wait and see the definition that's adopted. As I said, they don't even know what an XL bully is yet because it's not a breed you can actually DNA test for. Question, how can I get my dog exempted? Answer, we're not sure yet, but it seems like it will be an owner-led registration scheme, which will probably require you to complete an application form, provide evidence of compliance with the conditions, and pay for the details to be on the index of exempted dogs. Question, what if someone misses the deadline to have the dog exempted? Answer, the owner, and different if the person in charge of the dog, will be then committing an offence punishable by a prison sentence of up to 6 months and an unlimited fine, which is ridiculous. The dog will be seized by police and there is likely to be a presumption that it will be put down unless you can prove it's not a danger to the public safety. You may also be required to prove that there was a good reason why you failed to comply with the amnesty. Question, what will be the conditions? Answer, if it follows the current position for an exempted dog, the requirements will be the dog is neutered, the dog is microchipped, third-party insurance is obtained and continues to be enforced, a certificate of exemption is issued, you keep the dog at the same address as the registered keeper except for up to 30 days in 12 months. So you can have 30 days if you go, I don't know, if you go on holiday or something like that, your dog might need to go into a kennel. Obviously, it's got to be one that's insured to take your dog or, but they've got to be in your home for 30 days for 12 months. They've got to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They have to be in your home for the whole year, basically, minus 30 days if you're going on holiday or something. Right. Notify the agency of any change of address. Notify the agency of the death or export of the dog. Keep the dog muzzled and on a lead when in a public place. Keep the dog in sufficiently secure conditions to prevent its escape. Breach of any of these conditions will mean that the dog is no longer exempted. So what are the offences likely to be? Having possession or custody of the dog, if it has not been exempted within the amnesty period, to breed or breed from the dog, to sell or exchange the dog, to make or offer to make the gift of the dog, allow the dog to be in a public place without being muzzled and kept on the lead, abandon the dog or allow it to stray. All of those are going to be offences. Will a rescue be able to rehome an XL bully? If the ban comes into force, unless the existing rules are changed, a rescue won't be able to rehome an XL bully unless it's going to someone who already has or has had responsibility for that dog. And in any event, this would have to be approved by a court. This summary was produced on the 16th of September 2023, but is a fast-changing situation, so you must not rely on it as legal advice. I will link to this in the comments for you because I know that that's quite a lot of information, okay? So I'm just going to check to see how things are going with the comments. All good? Yeah. Right, perfect. So if you have any questions, then please do type them on my public page, on the Locks Dogs page, because we will be going through them and answering them, okay? So from what Trevor Cooper says, what it means for bullies who are placed on the exemption list, they will need to be neutered, they will need to wear a muzzle in public, you will need to have third-party liability insurance, okay? And also, bullies are not a DNA-tested breed, so many dogs can be deemed of type by an assessor who will go on looks, measurements, and characteristics when a DNA test might show there's something totally different, okay? So what you need to do is you need to insure your dogs. You need to get public liability insurance, make sure that is third-party. You need to have your dogs neutered. You need to muzzle train your dogs, and you need to get basic training done in advance. Now, regarding neutering isn't generally done before a first season or before 18 months old in a boy. It can affect growth, and also in boys, it can make them more nervous because we're removing the testosterone. So many people are quite worried about that, but consider this. With the dogs, if the ban goes ahead, they'll be getting neutered anyway, okay? And if they are not done by your vet in your home, by your vet in their surgery, and then back home in your home for recovery, then you might find them spending months in a police kennel. And that in itself is going to be traumatic, and it's going to be more likely to cause problems with behaviour. So in an ideal world, it's not the best thing to have dogs neutered young, but it is the lesser of two evils. Another way of looking at it is if the dogs are to be forever kept on a lead and away from other dogs, then they won't actually get close enough to react to other dogs and to people anyway, even if the snip does make them a little bit more nervous. So do speak to your vet about getting neutering done, because as I say, getting it done now is going to be the lesser of two evils. Okay, so I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. All good?
A couple of questions.
Okay.
Are bullies recognised by the Kennel Club?
Right, so are bullies recognised by the Kennel Club? XL bullies are not recognised by the Kennel Club. There are different bully breeds, but XL bullies are currently a type. They are not recognised by the Kennel Club, okay? That means basically that an XL bully, if it looks like an XL bully, can be an XL bully. As I say, there were some boxer cross Labradors that were produced not long ago that were called XL bullies. Usually XL bullies are a mix of pit bull and possibly some other bully types. But as I say, it's any dog that looks like an XL could be classed as an XL. Next. Would I recommend any dog insurance? Right, so would I recommend any dog insurance companies that are tailored to these breeds? So if they're banned, then it's a bit of a job to find an insurance company that is going to insure them. However, if you go to the Dogs Trust site, and bearing in mind insurance is a lot of money at the moment, they wanted £90 a month for me to insure a Springer door, okay? But if you go to the Dogs Trust site, you can get third-party liability insurance as part of a Dogs Trust membership, which is £25 a year. Okay. Now, what will happen is if you do that, you'll have your third-party membership, third-party liability insurance in place. If the dogs are banned, then you'll need to get your exemption certificate for the insurance to be valid. Okay, so if you can get all your neutering and everything else like that done in advance, then your insurance should still stay in place as long as you've got that exemption certificate. With any other insurance companies, I recommend ringing them personally and speaking to them about your own policy. Most of them will probably tell you if you get an exemption certificate, they will still insure your dog. It might mean that possibly your premiums go up a little bit. Some of them it might not. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if actually some specialist policies pop up here and there, and that's definitely something we need to keep an eye on. But yeah, for now, I think the cheapest and easiest way is to get a Dogs Trust membership at £25 a year. The third-party liability is included as part of that, and then get your exemption certificate. Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, right, so when it comes to training the bullies, because obviously they're going to need to show that they are not a danger, that you've got control of them, etc., etc. You want to get started on them now, even if they're really well behaved. Make sure you've got certain basic cues in place. Don't start using aversive training methods, okay? Because the thing is with these dogs, people are tempted, because they're big and strong dogs, to use aversive things like certain types of collar, and they think that you have to dominate your dog and all that nonsense, right? We don't need to do that. We need to teach our dogs that people are trustworthy. We need to teach our dogs that everything's okay, and we need to teach them that it's fun to do cues and things with you, right? It's a myth that we need to dominate dogs, okay? There was a guy, decades ago, David Schenkel, and he studied wolves. And what he did is he put the wolves into a captive setting, and it was almost a bit like chucking people into a Big Brother house. All the wolves all argued with each other over resources, and from that, the bigger ones obviously come out with all the resources, and the smaller ones didn't. And what would then happen is then David Schenkel and his scientists studying these wolves decided that the bigger, stronger ones were alpha wolves. Okay, and that the alpha wolves were the ones that got everything, and all the other wolves wanted to be alpha wolves, and but that's how we had to dominate our dogs, and we had to be the alpha wolf and all that. And it's absolute nonsense, because another guy came along, David Meck, and he followed them. He first of all realised that the wolves were not in a natural setting. So he started studying them away from that as well. And he discovered that actually they're like families. Okay, so there is an alpha male and a female, but they're more like a mum and a dad. And they have children, and they have some older children that go off and they create families of their own. And, there's one mating pair, the mum and dad, and, they might decide when the hunting's going on or when the feeding's going on. But at the same time, they do not all live in constant conflict with each other. They do not feel the need to dominate each other. Some of the wolves are good at this, and some of the wolves are good at that, and they all actually feed the puppies and the smaller ones, rather than trying to take everything for themselves. So it's an absolute myth that we need to dominate dogs. Okay, we need to get away from that style of training. We need to think in terms of helping our dogs to trust us and to give them clear guidance and learn how to navigate the world, but without all that old nonsense, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a bunch of links in the chat after here for a lady called Victoria Stilwell. I'm guessing a lot of you might have heard of her already, but there is a section on her website that teaches you all sorts of things that you can teach your dogs in a nice reward-based positive way that is not going to start teaching your dog to be worried about you. It's not going to come into conflict with how the dog feels about you. And it's what we need really is for our dogs to trust us and not to fear us, especially when they're a breed who's already being watched very carefully to see how they behave. See, dogs don't generally attack people because they feel like it. They do it because they feel like they need to defend themselves, their family, their territory. And whether they feel like that through the way they've been treated or they feel like that through genetics, either way, we need to stop them feeling like that in order to stop the attacks from happening in the first place, okay? So the first thing we can do is we can treat them kindly, all right? If they're taught from a young age that things are okay, then they don't necessarily feel the need to defend themselves in the first place. All right. So the other thing you need to do is obviously you're going to need to muzzle train your dogs. Now, there's a really clever guy called Chirag Patel. I will link to him as well. And he demonstrates in his video how to teach your dog to wear a muzzle, but he turns it almost into a game. Okay. And the dogs actually quite enjoy doing this. And it turns the muzzle into not a horrible thing, but actually quite a nice thing for the dog, because it means good things are going to happen. So I would suggest getting your dog trained, and especially muzzle trained. Now, do it like a few minutes of an evening, a couple of times a day, or, just for a few minutes at a time, with lots of treats and lots of rewards and lots of toys. Make it like a fun time for you and your dog, and honestly, it will make a world of difference when it comes down to actually the dog having to wear the muzzle. If they think it's actually quite a cool thing to do, then you're not going to be putting your dog through any unnecessary stress. Okay, everything all good? So, providing the guidelines are followed, would it still be possible for owners to keep their dogs? Yes. At the moment, what they are suggesting is there's not going to be a cull. They are going. This is just as what they're suggesting at the moment. So it's not going to be a case of all the dogs are going to be taken away and slaughtered. That's not going to happen. Okay. But what is going to happen is they're going to assess each dog. And it's going to be, as I say, whether they're insured, whether they're neutered. They might want to check the dog's behaviour, that kind of thing. If a person hasn't come forward and registered the fact they've got this dog, and there will be details on how to do that released at some point in the near distant future, then what they might do then is seize the dog, okay? And then it'll be a case of having them neutered in police kennels, possibly court cases, things like that, to make sure they're not just going to go and kill the dogs, right? So and it should be that the vast majority of these dogs, as long as they're neutered, insured, and under control and on a lead, will be actually perfectly able to stay with their families, okay? But you do need to make sure you cover those conditions, right? So I hope that answers the question. But anyway, so the other thing you want to do is, because quite a lot of these dogs are still quite young as well. I mean, some of them are lockdown puppies, and some of them are just literally babies. And one of the best things you can do with them at the moment is socialise them. So by that, I don't mean teach them to run up to other dogs and play with other dogs and have a great time with other dogs and run up to people and have a great time with people. I mean, what you want to do is you want to be letting them see dogs. You want to be letting them see people from a distance, and then basically teaching them that it's none of their business. So let them be around other dogs, but get them doing something with you, so that they're with you alongside other dogs, possibly, I don't know, the other side of the park or something like that. So they're not reacting to them. They're used to them being there, but they're doing something with you. Okay. So it might be that you go and have a little picnic with them and give them some treats and things, and then take them off before, keep them away from other dogs, because we don't want them to get used to the idea of running up to other dogs and being able to play with them, because that's not going to be fair if they're not allowed to in the future. But if we teach them that other dogs are there, but they're not that big a deal, people are there, but they're not that big a deal. It's much more fun to stay with you and get treats with you through the muzzles. And also with muzzles, you want to make sure you get basket muzzles rather than ones that hold their mouths closed, because first of all, the basket muzzles are a lot more comfortable, but also they can drink and they can take treats through them. So when there is other stuff going on, you can be giving them food, and you can be doing things with your dog, training with your dog, while the other dogs are in the background. Yeah. So socialize them, get them used to other dogs, but get you used to not necessarily running off with the other dogs, doing things with the other dogs, or running around people or doing things with people. Get them so that they go out and they're with you. Okay. Loose lead walking is going to be quite an important thing for you to teach them. Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice that, the better. Okay. So you can join our Fun Not Fear Club for easy access to me, or if you get in touch with me, I can point you in the direction of somebody local to you for one-to-one. As I'm saying, that the cull has been ruled out, so do not panic. There are things that you can do that will mean that if the ban goes ahead, that you will be able to keep your dog. You will be able, as long as you've got them under control, they're insured, they're muzzled, they're on a lead, and they're neutered, you should be fine. If your dog gets seized, just one final thing, if your dog does get seized, do not sign any papers, okay? Do not sign your dog over, do not sign any papers, because then that does mean that they might be able to put them down. Okay. Do not sign papers. You do not have to. You will not be prosecuted if you don't sign papers. Just don't sign anything. Okay. So that's about it for me, I think. So have you got any questions, Ellie? Anything else come in? Right, brilliant. Okay, so I will put all the links and things to all the things I've talked about in the comment section. Okay, and if any of you need any help with anything, please do get in touch. Okay, just leave me messages on Facebook and I will get back to you as soon as I can, or I'll point you in the direction of someone who can. All right, but above all, don't panic. All right. So I think that should be.
If ever you want to learn more about having a fun, not a fear life with your dog, do come and check out our club and school at www.funnotafear.co.uk or our on-the-ground business, locksdogs.co.uk, where you can find out all about your dog's behaviour and how to have an amazing life with them. So, that's it for this episode of the Fun Not Fear Dog podcast. Hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed putting it together for you. Don't forget, if you like what you heard and you want help for your dog, you can also check out our one-to-one services, or you can join our Fun Not Fear club and get courses and resources and interactive lives with a qualified behaviourist and trainer for less than £2 a week at locksdogs.co.uk. And remember, there is nothing that can be taught with fear that can't be taught with fun apart from fear itself. See you next time.